Okay. We know what is classification model. I'm not going to spend much more on the classification model. The data set is given, a training, then we will divide that into the training set and test set. Then we will develop some learning algorithm, or we will use some existing learning algorithm. From that, we will build a model, classification model. Then we will apply that model to predict new cases. And we'll also study how good or how accurate model we got. So this is the general set of the classification. What are the techniques available for classification? Base classifiers means they work on individually. Ensemble classifiers means they are combination of different classification techniques together. That means they are not base classifier. They are built top on the base classifiers. So base classifiers, the first one, let's say, which we will go through, is the decision tree based methods. Then rule based methods. The nearest neighbor, neural networks, deep neural nets. This anyway we covered, so we won't spend much time here. And naive Bayes and Bayesian belief networks, we will spend on this time. It is statistics based methods. Then we will also not spend much time on support vector machines. So these are the base classifiers. So ensemble classifiers, boosting, bagging, random forests. So these internally use these ensemble classifiers, several base classifiers. Is it clear what is ensemble classifier means?
Yes.
So ensemble classifier, something like it's saying they won't go through, they won't go by one results of one base classifier. They may take 3 base classifiers, then they will predict. They may go by vote. Out of 3, if 2 predict yes, then they go by yes. So that is called ensemble. Ensemble is the combination of classifiers. Then the question is, how do you, if different classifiers predict different classes, then how do you get the final conclusion? The simple thing is the by vote. Other thing is the weighted also. If something is very accurately predicting, some other classifier is, let's say, not accurately predicting against, then you can ignore that. It's not accurate prediction. Maybe it's the boundary prediction, something like that. It's different ways are there how to summarize when you take several classifiers together. So examples of decision tree, you can see left side a data set is given, that is training data. Then first we need to understand what is decision tree. Then we will see how do we build that decision tree. If we have a decision tree like this, first column is the homeowner here. So homeowner can take how many values?
Only 2. Yes,
only 2. So it will be split into 2 parts now. Homeowner yes, homeowner no. So if you take homeowner yes, then we will see directly, is there different classes when you have homeowner? Yes. So how many yes are there for homeowner out of 10?
3.
3. Say for those 3, what are the classes you can see? The last one is the class here.
All 3 have no.
No. So you don't need to further divide that, because whenever homeowner is no, it is automatically they are not default borrower. Okay. So then you don't need to split, or directly, if it is a decision tree given to us, directly we can say if homeowner equal to yes, the default borrower class is no. Then what is the second? Say, is it possible when homeowner is no, can we say all or belongs to same class?
No, 5th row has yes.
So there are again, let's say both classes are present in when homeowner is no. So then again we need to go travel through different attributes or different columns here. So the second column we will split by marital status. If marital status is either single or divorced, or it is married, another, they are trying to give a binary tree here. So that's why they are clubbing of different values together at one and a complement of that in another branch. So again, if marital status is married, then what is happening? The first case is homeowner equal to no, then marital status is married. Can we say that all of them belongs to same class or not? According to this, they are all belongs to no. Verify this. Homeowner, no. Second one is, it is married. Class is what? No, right? So similarly, no, homeowner, no, we want, but it is single. Divorced, we don't want. Sixth one is again no, married, and class is also no. And the ninth one is no, married, no. So all belongs to the same class, right? Once you travel this branch, homeowner no and marital status married, all belongs to class no. But it is not the same case with other branch, single and divorced. There are both classes present. Again, you need to travel based on income. If income is less than 80K, then it is no. If income is greater than 80K, yes. So some notation is given. These are called, let's say, homeowner, marital status, annual income. They are called categorical columns because they have discrete and limited number of possibilities, right? Values. The annual income is not categorical. It is continuous because it may take any value, real value. And the default borrower is again categorical, and it is also class attribute. So now, why do we start only with the homeowner? You can also build the same thing starting with other attributes. Because if they gave homeowner as the first attribute, earlier we took as homeowner as the first attribute to split. We don't need to do that. You can arrange this data set as marital status as the first attribute, something like that. Then you can also build a different tree for this. Then again, marital status married, then all will belongs to no. Then single divorced, like this. Let's see. What is difference between earlier tree and this tree? Root is different, right?
Sir, should we only do binary split each time? Because marital status has 3 values, right? So
yeah, you can do it, say, many branches also. Okay. But binary tree is always easy to split. Right. Later on, anyway, you are splitting, right? Or you can also split single divorced also. You can put again 2 branches here, single and divorced, like okay. Binary only. You understand what I'm saying? Marital right. Single divorced, right? Right. Then again, that will, it's a, I think it's a, you might have studied red black trees. What they do, they actually build a binary tree, but they split the internal attribute into 2, right? Right. So the same way you can do here, no problem that. Okay. But usually it's the algorithms are built on binary because binary is easy to traverse. Okay. That we will cover, I think, in coming slides also. We will also discuss the problems also. What will happen if we not split binary, right? Right? So the difference is here, root is changing. When root changes, the tree also will change. And it may have, say, depth more, depth less, all those things are possible, let's say, when you change the attributes and what attribute you take root, all those things. The only thing you should remember, there doesn't exist only one binary tree or classification tree, decision tree. There could be more than one tree that fits the same data. Then the question comes that which tree we need to select? Which tree is best? Which tree has less computational complexity? And also as is giving good accurate result, right? Those 2 things are important to select which decision tree we need to select. So now if decision tree is given, how do we apply now? Now here some examples are given. Now it is exercise for you. Traverse this tree and decide what class it belongs to. This is exercise for you now. You need to answer. take the right
No.
side. Yeah.
So it starts from the root. So marital status is married. So it goes to
So first
right.
attribute, what you need to take?
No,
Not marital.
homeowner.
Yeah. That
Homeowner is the root.
that you need to take first. Yeah.
Yeah. Since homeowner is the root, in the given test data, homeowner is no, so it goes to the right side, right child. And there we are checking for marital status. It is married, so it again goes to the right child, and the default class given is no.
No. So what should we write here in default borrower? No.
No.
Is it clear for all of all others?
Yes, sir.
So this is simply traversing that. First attribute is homeowner. It is split into two. Our object will get into the right side, right? No. For us, right side, when you are looking the decision tree. Then again, it is split into single, divorced, one branch, and married. So we have marital status married, so we will get into the right side. And right side, we don't need to verify anything. Directly, we can assign the class. No. So the same traversion is given here, how it is traversed and how the class is assigned there. The same thing. First, we will build, we will use one tree induction algorithm, how to build the tree. Then we will create a model. From that model, we will see that it's how good model we are getting that analysis. Once model is fixed, then we will apply that model to predict new objects. So there are different types of algorithms are available to build decision trees. This is also called decision tree induction algorithms. So the first one is Hunt's algorithm. The first earliest algorithm is for decision trees. Then CART, then ID3 C4.5, then SLIQ and Sprint. These are the available algorithms in the packages. We will try to say that it's what techniques they use it, what concept they use it to build decision trees. CART and ID3 C4.5 are very famous. Most of the people use them in the present scenarios. So general structure of Hunt's algorithm. Let DT be the set of training records that reach a node T. So you have here data set. So if you have a node, earlier it's all objects may not reach a node, right? This doesn't reach to any other node except homeowner and marital status.
Right.
And this leaf, right? Married. This I don't call node, though it is node, but it is called leaf node. We will call leaf. So marital status is reached by only few objects, not all. If homeowner is yes, then they won't reach to marital status. You understand? All the nodes will not be reached by all the objects. Only few objects will reach that node. Maybe the root will reach by all the objects. But later on, the number will vary. So this DT be the set of training records that reach a node T. Then general procedure, if DT contains records that belong the same class, YT, then it is a leaf node labeled as YT. That is what we did here. So whenever it is reaching homeowner, and if it is yes, then all the objects which are reaching homeowner and traversing to the left, they have the same class. So we don't further divide them. We will simply create a leaf node and put the default class there. Is it clear?
Yes.
So whenever we go for a node, then we will see what are the objects are reaching that node. Then we will see what is the class distribution. If class distribution is unique, then we will create a leaf node. If class distribution is not unique, then we will again further split on different attributes or even sometimes same attribute. Because we have seen here single and divorced marital status. Again, we will use marital status only to divide this. Single is one branch and divorced is other branch. Okay, so you can split the same attribute also. So if DT contains records that belong the same class YT, then T is a leaf node labeled as YT. If DT contains records that belong to more than one class, use an attribute test to split the data into smaller subsets. Recursively apply the procedure to each subset. So that is what we are doing, and I have explained the same thing with the previous thing. Now we will see that how this Hunt's algorithm we apply here. Then the first node, if we take homeowner, then all objects will reach homeowner, right? Because that is the first conditional attribute we are putting as a root node in our decision tree. Then what is the division there between yes class and no classes? I think no is first. Okay, no and yes.
No is
7 and
7,
3.
yes.
7 and 3, right? The division is
Right.
7 no, 3 yes. That's why we need to split that. If everything is one class 10, then directly we will create a leaf node and we will put by default whatever object comes, that is no or yes, we would put that, right? But we have a combination of both classes. That's why we need to further split. Split on what? We are going with second attribute because there is nothing to split on homeowner. There were only 2 available and 2 branches we made, right?
Yes.
So you need to take another attribute. So another attribute for what? After splitting, left side, all the objects belongs to no. That's why we will create a leaf node there. Only right side we are getting problem. Yeah. So this 3 0 is left side. The combination right side is the 4 3. Is it clear what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Since the left side contains homogeneous class, all the objects reached this contains no, so we don't need to further split it.
We need to create a leaf node there.
Yes.
So that branch ends there. That won't further grow. Right side branch is growing because we got a both classes there, objects of both classes. So we need to further divide, split. The split is coming like this, let's see. Then this is 3 0. Wherever you get one class is 0, then that becomes a leaf node. Then again, let's see, marital status. Marital status, we are dividing married and single divorced. Then married is becoming homogeneous class 3 0, but defaulted single divorced. Though it is put yes, but it is further to be divided because there are both classes are available. So based on annual income, we further divide them into 2 classes, less than 80K, greater than 80K. Then again, we will see how we will split this continuous attribute, because continuous attribute has many values, right? Then how you got this less than 80K and greater than 80K? Why can't we say greater than 100K, less than 100? All those things will come. But right now, you think that there is some good procedure to find out continuous attribute can be split into 2. To use the binary is also one of the reasons this why binary split. Whenever continuous attribute comes, then how many splits we need to make is a difficult decision. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it is binary less than, greater than. Later on, you can divide again less than 80K, then again, see, less than 40K, greater than 40K, something like that. But if we want to divide as many branches, then there will be a big problem whenever we get these continuous attributes. So time being, we assume that we have a procedure to split so that the split will become nicely, put them into different classes. So this annual income is a continuous attribute. We divided that into less than 80K and greater than 80K. When you divided that, you got homogeneous classes for both branches. You got leaves now. So your final tree is this: homeowner yes and no. Wherever you are looking at the this square bracket, that is the leaf node. So you may ask if you want to stop at stage B also you can stop, but your accuracy is only one branch is giving accurate result. It's because there are 2 square rectangles right here boxes as leaf nodes for B also. So if you don't want to grow, then you go by majority class, that's all. By default, you say no there, because no's are more than yes. But if you want a perfect classification, you need to further divide. So this also will be called as a tolerance condition. Okay, how much of accuracy you want? Okay, if you can tolerate 20%, 30%, okay, I'll stop. I don't grow tree further, because the complexity for the tree is growing further. As you go down, then more branches will come. This is Hunt's algorithm. Is it clear what is Hunt's algorithm? It is a simple algorithm for the decision tree.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what are the issues we face when we try to build a model decision tree induction? How should training records be split? Method for specifying test condition. So how do we test that? Depending on attribute types. Because it's here, if it is a categorical attribute, we are looking exactly whether it is same or not. If it is a continuous attribute, our testing condition is less than, greater than also came, right? So that is what here, method for specifying test condition, depending on attribute types. If it is continuous, then you cannot simply say that if it is equal, then if it is equal means you need to create infinite branches. So there it comes whether it is less than, greater than, like that. If it is a categorical attribute, then you will see that it's whether it is equal to the attribute or equal to the one of the attributes in that branch. Measure for evaluating the goodness of a test condition. So whether that test condition is good or not, how do we measure? Because we put a test here less than 80K, greater than 80K. People may ask, why do you use a test only for 80K? You may also use for 100K also. Then whether we need to take less than 100K or greater than 100K, which one is the good test? So that also we need to decide. These are the issues which we will face when we use the Hunt's algorithm in decision tree. How should the splitting procedure stop? Where do we stop the splitting? Stop splitting if all the records belong to the same class or have identical attribute values. That is what anyway we have seen. If you don't want to grow your tree bigger, if you can tolerate some error, then you can early termination. Whenever you are terminating early, then you will assign at that branch whatever is the maximum class, that is a default class. Is it clear what is termination? When we terminate, how do we assign the class?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what are the methods we have for expressing test conditions? Depends on binary, depends on attribute types. It may be binary, then nominal, ordinal, continuous. These are the different types of attributes, right? For nominal, you cannot use less than, greater than, all those things, right?
Yes.
So if there are binary 0 or 1, it is simple always, whether it is 0 or 1. So binary nominal, we will have the same way. Ordinal, when we are putting ordinal means they are comparable. We will see that ordinal, we cannot put whatever combination we want, one branch, other branch, and other branch. Ordinal is nothing but they are still categorical, but they are comparable. Which one is bigger, which one is smaller, like that. So if you have small, medium, large, you cannot put small and large one branch, medium is other branch. If you want to split only two parts, either you should split small and medium one branch and large, or what can you split?
Small in one branch, medium and large.
That order should be maintained whenever it is ordinal, right, in the splitting.
Right.
In continuous, again, it's we need to use less than or greater than or equal conditions. Depends on number of ways to split. How many ways we want to split? Based on that, we may split always two-way or binary split or multi-way split. So test condition for nominal attributes. There is nothing like we can do more testing exactly for nominal, whether it is same or not. That is what we need to say. Here for nominal, we can put any 2 into 1. Here 3 are available. Any 2 into 1. And other one is into it's a other branch. because they are not comparable. There is nothing like it's a single is always less than divorced, or divorced is greater than single, or married is. So that comparison is not available, a standard comparison. So you can put them into two baskets, whatever way you want. That is what available for nominal things. So multi-way split here, if you want to multi-way split, you can put into three branches, no problem. Use as many partitions as distinct values. Binary split divides values into two subsets. So as I told you, you can make any combination as one branch because they are not comparable here for nominal attributes. For ordinal attributes, as I told you, you can have multi-way. In multi-way, it's a 4 are available. You can split 4 ways. Or if you want binary split always should preserve the order property. So small, medium, large, extra large. It is preserving the order property. Am I right?
Yes.
Small. After small, what will come? Medium. Then after medium, large will come. So extra large. So right side also, if you want only 2 groups, you can also put small is one side, remaining 3 are one side. So the splitting should preserve the order if the attribute is ordinal. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this grouping violates order property. What is violation is there in this?
Because it is not in the order, sir. There are two different sizes in between small and large. That is the reason it is violating the property.
Yeah. So if you want to split 2, then small, medium should be 1, not medium and extra large, right?
Yes, sir.
Because after small, immediately medium will come. After that, large will come. So this large should go to the right branch, medium should come to the left branch. Okay. If it is a continuous attribute, as I told you, the binary split is take one value and make greater than, less than that. Then if you want multi-way split, still you need to make 4 intervals, something like less than 10K, greater than 10K, and between 10K, 25K, between 25K, 50K, like that it's saying. So if it is a continuous attribute, again, you need to maintain the order because continuous attributes are also ordinal. The values are comparable, right? You cannot put it, see, 10K, 20K, and 40K and 60K into one branch. Okay. So they should be continuous bucketing them. So that is only possible for continuous attributes. So splitting based on continuous attributes. So how do we split the continuous attributes? Different ways of handling. One is the discretization to form an ordinal categorical attribute. So you can make them groups. If it is A's, then you can say 10 groups with interval length 10, or based on frequency. So first 10% people, whatever covers from 0 to that, then next 10%, next 10%. Then we are going by frequency. That many objects should come in that bucket. Then we will start next from there onwards. That is called frequency bucketing. So ranges can be found by equal interval bucketing, equal frequency bucketing, or clustering. So you also know that it's based on distances, you can cluster into 10 groups, use that clustering. Then you can use static, discretize once at the beginning. In the beginning itself, you put, okay, I want 3, then I'll put 60, something 80 and 90 with the prior knowledge. Then dynamic, repeat at each node. Okay, here static should understand static is once we discretize, we won't discretize again. Dynamic means again at the time of the split, again we will see that what is the good bucketing. That is called dynamic. So binary decision A less than V or A greater than or equal to V. Consider all possible splits and finds the best cut. Can be more compute intensive. This is, let's say, we need to find out which is the best split so that, let's say, we will get length of the tree is less. That is the most of the times we want that, let's say, whenever the tree is measured for its performance, width and length of the tree people will see. So how to determine the best split here? So here, how do you determine the best split? Here, before splitting, 10 records of class 0, 10 records of class 1 we have here. There are 20 records. There are C0s 10s and C1s 10. Then gender we don't have much option. There are only 2. So we will split by M or F. Okay. So for gender, you have yes 10 and no also 10 you have. And for yes branch, you have 6-4 combination. For no branch, you have 4-6 branch combination. For car type, you can split 3 ways. If you split 3 ways, the first one is 4, then second one is having 8, fourth one is having 8 again. So what is the leaf node you can stop here in this? If you take the car type, sports, right? All belongs to the same class. What about customer ID? Customer ID won't repeat, right?
Right.
So all 20 branches you need to take, and each one each leaf node will have only one. That is, but this is meaningless because the new object will not come with the same customer ID.
Yes.
So you cannot traverse this tree at all. So that is the problem. So some of the attributes, they are not to consider for the tree building. Okay, ID columns particularly, IDs will be vary. So you cannot generalize IDs for the new objects. So which test condition is the best? Whether gender is the best here, or if we stop it early, terminate only with one attribute condition itself, then which is the best here? Yeah, again, that is debatable, which we study, right? So because if you take car type, 8 are classified correctly. How many are classified wrongly here? By default class, family will become the C1 and luxury also will become C1. How many will go wrong with this? 2 will go wrong, right? Because in family, 4 are there. If you put all 4 into C1, C0 is going wrong. One element is going wrong in left branch. And what about the rightmost branch? One element is going. So 2 out of 20 goes wrong, right? The error.
Right.
If you take the gender, 8 out of 20 will go here. The majority class will be assigned, right? For all objects in that branch. So majority class for S is the 6. For no is also majority class is C0 for S branch. For no, it is C1. If you assign for all 10 C0, then 4 will go wrong. Similarly, for right branch, 4 will go wrong. So 8 of 20. So car type is better when you compare with this. What about customer ID? We will not go wrong, right? Here.
Yeah, everything will be that because
for the training data set, we will get accurate result. When we are testing, we know that testing objects will not have the same customer ID. Because we will predict for the new ones, right? Already, if that customer ID exists, then we know what is the result. So it doesn't work for the coming new objects. So how to determine the best split? The first one is the greedy approach. Yeah. Have you studied greedy algorithms anytime?
Not in our academic curriculum.
You might have studied in algorithms too, right? Some of the graph algorithms, they apply greedy
Yeah,
method.
greedy approach.
So they might not have specified very clearly, but greedy approach is very popular, I'd say, for many algorithms. Greedy is nothing but at that point of time, you will not worry about what will happen in future. So at that point of time, whatever is the best, that you will select. That is called greedy approach. So nodes with purer class distribution are preferred. So we are not worried about, let's see, how much the whole tree will grow or come. At that point of time, am I getting more accurate if I just go by the majority class, default class? So that only we will see for that node. That is called greedy approach for this algorithm. So nodes with purer class distribution are preferred. What is the meaning of purer? Means making less error. That is purer. So here two classes are given, two distributions are given, or nodes. One is having 5-5 even distribution, other one is having 9-1 distribution. So which one is the purer here?
Right, 9-1.
In fact, nothing is purer, but if you want to rank them, then right side thing, because right side is making only one error if we go by majority class here. The left one is making almost 50% error here. That's why, in comparison, the right one is the purer class, not purest. So then there are statistical measures. See, every time, let's say, if you have thousands of nodes, dividing them and looking at them manually deciding is always a difficult thing. No computer scientist does that. They need to write an algorithm. They also need to capture how to, a mathematical formula, how to compute this purity or impurity of the node. So that's why they use different statistical techniques to get purity and impurity. One of them is the Gini index. So Gini index is defined like here, 1 minus sigma I equal to 0 to C minus 1, pi t square. C means the classes there. So if there are C classes, you're starting with 0. So all the classes you need to take, available classes. Then what is probability? The object belongs to that class when you traverse to that node. Probability PIT is nothing but, where PIT is the frequency of class I. Here it is called frequency, but actually it's these frequencies they are considering as probabilities. That's why they are using this P. So don't times 10. So frequencies here, frequency is 5, class G, C0. Frequency for C1 is 5, but there we are not considering this 5. Frequency in terms of probability we are considering. So what is probability of that this node, object to reach this node and classified as C0? 5 by 10. Then that becomes the probability. What is probability here to reach this node and classified as C0? 5 by 10. How much that is? 1 by 2, right? So 0.5. Here for right one?
0.9 or C0.
Yeah, 0.9 and 0.1 for other class. So PIT is the frequency of class I at node T, and C is the total number of classes. This is one way of measuring. This is called Gini index. Probabilities summing up to 1, right? Always.
Right.
So this PIT whole squares will become still lesser values than 1. It's when you add PIs itself, it is 1, but you are making squares. They are numbers between 0 and 1. Whenever you make square numbers between 0 and 1, what will happen to those squares? So will they become less than the original number or greater than the original number?
Less than.
Less than. So this summation will be never equal to 0.
What?
Maximum 1, right? If one class is 1, other class is 0, then. So the values, Gini index is always between what? 0 and 1.
0 and 1.
Okay. Then another measure is there, statistically they define, this is entropy. Entropy is very popular term, you might have heard even in physics also, heat there, let's say. So entropy is 1. Entropy is defined as I is equal to 0 to C minus 1, then PIT log of PIT. So probability of that class at that node, then log of probability of that class at that node. This is called entropy. This minus is there. Why this minus is there? Because you want to make them as positive values. These values are less than ones, remember.
Right.
Log value becomes minus for less than 1 value. What is the log value of 1?
0.
Anything less than 1, what will happen?
Goes to negative.
Negative. So we want to make it positive. So that's why we are multiplying with minus. Because PIT is always positive. This is probability can be never negative. Log values will become negative. All values will become negative. Total value will get negative. So that's why we are putting this minus here. Then other classification, other technique to measure impurity is the misclassification error. This is what we have just now verified, which split is good. Classification error 1 minus max of PIT. So can PIT will be more than 1 max of PIT?
Maximum is 1.
1, right? So it is again between 0 and 1. So these are the 3 measures people will use to compute how impure that node. So I'll repeat again, there are 3 types of measures we are discussing. There may be more, but in this course, we are discussing 3: Gini index, entropy, and misclassification error. So finding the best split, compute impurity measure before splitting. Okay, then whenever you take a node, then look at all the objects which are reaching to that, then compute impurity measures. Then compute impurity measure after splitting. So compute impurity measure of each child node. M is the weighted impurity of child nodes. We'll see that how do we weight them. Weight is nothing but it's saying one is getting complete pure, but a very minimum number of objects are reaching, that shouldn't disturb the other. So that's why we will take it saying higher nodes, higher objects are reaching that child node, that should contribute more because that is making more error. So when you are comparing, so you should also assign the weights. That's why this weighted impurity measure will come here. When your split is not even. Split is not even means it's a many are going to one child node and very few number of objects are going to other node. Choose the attribute test condition that produces the highest gain. That is gain P minus M. What is P here again? Repeat.
Before splitting the impurity.
Parent node impurity measure, right?
Right.
Then what is the M? Weighted impurity measure of the child nodes.
Right.
So gain P minus M, when you split, will you reduce the impurity or will you increase the impurity? Is there any possibility to improve the increase the impurity by splitting?
No, impurity will reduce.
So only always you reduce. So this gain is important. So you will take different splits, different nodes, and you see that it's how you split it. See different ways of splitting possible. We have seen it. See if 3 values are available, 2 you can put in one branch. Other branch will have only 1 node. That you can alternate. So like that, different splits are possible. For parent node, first you compute this P. Then for different splits, you compute M. Then for which split you get a maximum gain, you take that. Or equivalently, lowest impurity measure after splitting we will take. So examples are given here. So before splitting N00 and N01. After splitting, you got in first branch N10 and N11. This is left branch, and right branch you got the distribution N20 and N21. Then probabilities you will get. Probability of C0 is how much here? N10 by N10 plus N11.
N11.
Similarly, for C1, you compute the same thing. Then for C0 and C1 also, you compute the same thing, probabilities. Then you can put one of, use only one measure, right? Don't use for one node, one measure, other nodes, other measures. So if you fix for decision tree one measure, fix Gini index. Always you need to take the Gini index only. If you fix entropy, take the entropy. If you fix the classification error, fix classification error all the time whenever you extend that tree. So for all these things, you need to find out just probability of each class, right?
Right.
So once you get, then all the measures you can apply and see here. So before splitting, you will take these probabilities. C0 probability is your N00 by N00 plus N01. So here another split, because the first time itself, all the, for root node, all the categorical attributes or all the attributes, including continuous, will compete, right? So for each attribute, you need to take and split two ways and see for which you get the less impurity or the maximum gain in impurity. Okay, this is M11, the measure. This is M12, this is M21, and this is M22. Then this is split A, this is split B. Then if you get P, again if M11 is very great, then don't take simple average. You need to take weighted average, nothing but for how many objects that measure you are getting. Then for how many objects you are getting this measure M12. So you remember weighted average? I think you did in your gamma thing, right? 5 are averaging, 5 elements are averaging with 0.2. And 7 elements averaging with 0.1. Then what is average of all 12 elements?
5 into 0.2 plus 7 into 0.1 by 5 plus.
That is the weighted average. If you take simply 0.2 plus 0.1 by 2, what will happen? That is not called weighted average.
Right.
So that will mislead. When you take all 12, then you need to take weighted. Here also, you are getting impurity measure for a few elements. Other one is for maximum elements. The average is not the impurity measure. So that's why you need to take the weighted average or weighted impurity measure there. So that is what the weighted means here. So by combining M11, M12 will get M1. By combining M21, M22 will get M2. Then gain equal to P minus M1 versus P minus M2. So this weighted is nothing but N10 plus N11, whatever impurity you got that. Okay. Plus the impurity, whatever you are getting at this node. That is nothing but again N20 plus N21, that divided by all 4. That is the impurity measure for each attribute, for each data object. Here also you can do the same thing. N00 plus N01, N00 times probability of this, then divide by total this, right? 20. Total is always same. So you can also remove the total for the comparison purpose. This N00, N01 only is split into N10, N11, and N20 and N21. So how many objects you will get at A, that many only you will get to the child node. So that is how we compute this M1. M1 is nothing but M11, but that is multiplied by M10 and N11 plus of this. The total of objects at this node multiplied by M12 divided by total. So the Gini is here. Gini index formula is 1 minus I is equal to 0 to C minus 1 PIT whole square. So maximum of 1 minus 1 by C when records are equally distributed among all classes, implying the least beneficial situation for classification. So when will you get maximum this? So I don't want to get into the mathematics, but if you consider this as a mathematical equation, you know that it's how to get the minima and maxima for a given function. So if you use that, then they are saying that you will get the probability, this PIT value. When will you get this whole thing with a constraint condition of all PITs put together that should be equal to 1? Then you can derive from mathematics that the maximum impurity you get when all classes are evenly distributed. That is the meaning of this. Maximum of 1 by 1 minus C when records are equally distributed among all classes, implying the least beneficial situation for classification. So what is this 1 by C? Because if there are C classes, each one has the same probability to belongs to that class, then there are C classes, probability become 1 by C, right? Because all, when you add up all, it should be 1. So you will add a C once, C 1 by C, so multiplied by C, it becomes 1. So if your split is making all classes equally probable after splitting, then you are getting the maximum impurity. So minimum of 0 when all records belong to one class. So what will happen if all belongs to one class? One PIT will become
1.
1. All other PITs will become
0.
zeros. So that 1 square is still 1, right? Then it becomes 0. So if it is a purest class, then impurity will become 0 if all belongs to one class. If all classes are equally distributed, then the node will become more impure. Okay, for 2 class problem, means only 2 splits are there. We know the probability is always P, other one will become 1 minus P because total should become 1, right? So then Gini equal to, then you apply this. So this will become 1 minus, what is the first element? P square, right? Only in the summation, how many elements are there? If it is a 2 class problem? 2. So only 2, if you expand the summation, only 2 terms will come. The first term we are saying probability with P, second term automatically will become 1 minus P because total should be 1. So Gini will become 1 minus the first term square, P square, minus the second term square, 1 minus P whole square. Then expand this, you will get 2P into 1 minus P. So you don't need to compute each time this summation. If you know the probability of one class, if it in a binary class, then your Gini is nothing but 2P into 1 minus P. So here it is computed. C1 equal to 0, C2 equal to 6, then Gini equal to 0. Is it good value or bad value?
Good value.
Good value. So this is impurity measure, remember. So impurity should be less. This is the lowest impurity you can have. This is the good split. So don't confuse. So we are measuring the impurity. That's why we are looking for the smaller values. Here it becomes 0.278. Then it becomes 0.444 and it becomes 0.500. So maximum impurity you are getting in a binary class, how much? 0.5. Because this is evenly distributed, right? We have just discussed it. If it is evenly distributed, then maximum impurity you will get. This is the evenly distributed. Okay, computing Gini index of a single node here. So single node, how do we compute is given here. That is nothing but formula for Gini index is simply, if it is a binary class, 2p into 1 minus p. Okay, then PC1 equal to 0. So automatically PC2 will become 1. Then Gini will become here 1 minus here they are using the original formula. Even if you use, you should get the same thing. What is that formula? 2p into 1 minus p. So p equal to 0. So your impurity p is 0. So 2p into 1 minus p will become 0, right?
Right.
Then here 2 multiplied by 1 by 6 multiplied by 5 by 6. How much that is? 1 by 3 multiplied by 5 by 6.
5 by
5 by 18. So 0.278. Whatever they have shown, the values are computed here. So then when you get collection of nodes, when a node P is split into K partitions, children, Gini split equal to I is equal to 1 to K, Ni Gini I by N. This is what I explained, right? This is what weighted thing. For Ni objects, you are getting Gini impurity this. Okay. Then you are averaging. The total objects are N. So this for a split, you need to take for each split, first compute the Gini, then multiply with the number of objects for that branch you got, then divide by total N. N is common, so you can also take out 1 by N. You can write simply 1 by N outside of the summation, Ni, Gini, I. Where Ni is the number of records at child I, N is the number of records at parent node P. So how do you compute for binary attributes? Here for a split, it is given. Splits into two partitions, effect of weighing partitions, larger and purer partitions are sought. Okay. Here simply we try to understand. This parent node has a distribution 7 and 5. So what is probability of C1 class here? 7 by 12. Then what is the Gini index here? 2 multiplied by 7 by 12 minus multiplied.
5 by 12.
Yeah, how much that is? 5 by 12, right? Other one is there. So 7 by 12, 5 by 12, 35 by 144. 144 will become 72 because 2 multiplied by that. So 35 by 72. So that is almost close to 0.5, right? You are getting 0.486 because 35 2s is 70, but you have more than 70, the denominator. So this is correct, right? This parent node Gini is this. Now after splitting, left split has got 5 and 2, right split has got 1 and 4. What is the Gini index of the left split with N1? What is probability here?
5 by 6 and 1 by 6.
That is 5 by 36. Then 5 by 18.
5 by 18.
So, okay, this is 5 by 18. 5 by 18 is 0.278. Because 18 2 is 36, right? 18 3 is 54. You won't get 0.3. You'll get 0.2 something. So Gini of N1 is 0.278. What is the Gini of N2? Again, 2 multiplied by 2 by 6, 4 by 6.
4 by 6.
How much that is? 8 by 36. 8 by 18. 8 by 18 is how much? 0.444. Then how you got this weighted? You need to multiply. The first one is having 6 elements. Of course, here both are having 6 elements. So that's why you are getting 6. You shouldn't confuse that. It's each time you need to take 6. This 6 is coming because number of elements belongs to N1 is 6. Number of elements belongs to N2 is also 6. Then weight with that. 6 by the total number is 12. 0.278 plus 6 by 12, 0.44. So that you are getting 0.361. How much gain you got in impurity here? P minus M. What is P?
0.48.
Minus 0.361. So your gain is 0.125 if you have this split. So if it is categorical attribute, how do you split? For each distinct value, gather counts for each class in the data set. Use the count matrix to make decisions. So multi-way split, then for all the same formula you will use. Here for multi-way split, you got 0.163. Here you cannot use the 2p into 1 minus p formula. You should use that summation formula here, because the probabilities are not only two probabilities here. Then for two-way split, you got here 0.468. For car type, you are getting 0.167. You need to make like this, it's split into different combinations. Here, sports and luxury are put into one combination, family is other combination. You are getting your Gini is 0.468. So if you are putting sports into one group and family luxury other group, you are getting 0.167. Which split is good in these two?
0.167 last.
This is the impurity measure. Remember that it. See, higher score is bad for us. Lower score is good for us for splitting. Don't confuse. So the right side is having less impurity, means more purity. 1 minus, this is purity. So this is good. So your splitting should be not clubbing up the sports luxury into one. You should, if you want to group them as family and luxury into one. There is no ordinal thing right here.
Right.
So that's why we can do different splittings. Anyway, which of these is the best? We have answered the right one. So if it is a continuous attribute, then how do you find out the Gini index? Use binary decisions based on one value. So several, say if you want to take this annual income, you can take 125, 100, any of these values. Then 10 values you can, 10 splits you can get. So use binary decisions based on one value. Several choices for the splitting value. Number of possible splitting values equal to number of distinct values. You can say 125 or 170. Of course, some if they are repeating, then they will go out. But it's, if all are not repeating, even one is not repeating, then the maximum possibility is how many objects you have, that many, how many distinct values you have in that column, that is, that many splits you can make, binary split choices. Each splitting value has a count matrix associated with it. So here it's, if you take less than or equal to 80 and greater than 80, then you are getting splitting for less than or equal to 80, 0 and 3. For greater than 80, you are getting 3 and 4. Okay. Like that, it's, you can also make less than or equal to 70 and greater than 70, less than or equal to 120, greater than 120. For all those things, you will get a table, get a Gini index for that split. So class counts in each of the partitions, you also need to compute this class count so that we will compute the Gini index. Simple method to choose best V is, for each V, scan the database to gather count matrix and compute its Gini index. Computationally inefficient repetition of work. What last two lines say?
So if we directly take all the values and compute for all the, for example, here we have 10 distinct values for the annual income. If we take for all the 10 distinct values, we compute Gini index, it is.
Yeah. What is repetition of work here?
Computation of Gini index.
So if you order them, something like lowest to highest, 70K, 60K, 70K, 85K, then you know that, right? Before 60K, what is the class combination? So you can compute only between 60 and 75K, because you are looking less than 75K, greater than 75K, right? Whatever you computed till that point of time, those class combinations won't change.
Right.
So if I compute for 60K, there are only one is less than or equal to 60K. All are greater than or equal to 60K, right?
Yes.
Then if I go for 70K, I don't need to compute how many below 60K class combination. That plus the class combination between 60K and 70K. So I don't need each time to scan the database. Here it is 10, that's why it looks like easy, but when you do work with millions of rows will be there. All millions of rows, each time scanning will take time. That is the repetition of the work. So that is what problem if you start computing the class count each time for each split. Okay, here the splitting is given. So for efficient computation, for each attribute, sort the attribute on values first. So we sorted here, then we got 60, 70, 75 like that. Then classes are given above. So here below 85, immediately you can count how many left and how many right. You don't need to go each time. So sort the attribute on values, linearly scan these values each time, updating the count matrix and computing Gini index. Choose the split position that has the least Gini index. So, okay. Then sorted values, split positions. Why are they putting 55, 65 like that? The middle value they are taking between the this 60 and 70, the middle value is 65. Because initially they don't know what to put because they put it, say, next thing is 5, so they are also removing 5 here. So this is nothing but middle value of those 70, 75, 72.5, but they don't want to make income as the 0.5, 72, between 75, 85, 80. So there is one representation, that's all. It's there is not having much importance here. We will see only less than or equal to 60, greater than 60, something like that. So now you compute yes and no here. For this below less than 60, you have 0, yes, and 3 greater than 60, you have 3 yes. So total for this split, 60 split, you are getting Gini index 0.420. Three and 7. It is not evenly split, right? If it is evenly split, you would have got 0.5. But still the majority is majority here. It is dominating. But you got still almost close to 0.5 only, not this impurity is more only here. For next one, 0.400. For next one, next split, you are getting 0.375, 0.343, like this. Okay. So only between these values, you find out how many are yes and no added to the previous thing. That's all it's, and you need to remove from one and make other thing more. So don't make random computations for splitting. First you sort. Based on sorting, linearly scan these values, each time updating the count matrix and computing Gini index. So update the count matrix and compute the Gini index in a lowest to highest. So what is the lowest Gini index you got here?
0.3 for 97.
So 0.97 for this example. So another is the entropy. What will change? Only the computation will change. The formula will change. All other things are remain same. The impurity measure, how do you compute? That formula will change. Where PIT is the frequency of class A, node T and C is the total number of classes. Maximum of log 2C when records are equally distributed among all classes. Same thing, even if you take entropy, if they are equally distributed, you will get maximum impurity. Again, minimum 0 you'll get, because if Pi is 0, then this will become 0. And that will become minus, this will become log 0. This Pi itself will make 0. So total will become 0. If you have one class is full, then other automatically in a binary classification, other class will have probability 0. And 1 PIT is 1, log of 1. What is log of 1?
0.
0. So that's why you're getting 0 here. Entropy based computations are quite similar to the Gini index computations. So almost see, you can use this formula instead of the previous formula. You can see the entropy computations here. So computing information gain after splitting. So after splitting, you use the same weighted formula, Ni by N entropy. Entropy in the beginning, parent node. After splitting, weighted entropy. The difference is gain. So parent node P is split into K partitions. That's why you get K summations for children with weighted. Choose the split that achieves most reduction, maximizes gain. This is used in ID3 and C4.5 decision tree algorithms. This entropy formula is used to compute the impurity. Information gain is the mutual information between the class variable and the splitting variable. So you asked about Harideep, why don't we split into not binary, right? Here, the discussion comes here. Problem with large number of partitions. Node impurity measures tend to prefer splits that result in large number of partitions, each being small but pure. So the generalization you will lose actually. So you will get large number of things. You won't know that it's where to stop, how many splits you need to make. Because of this measure, whatever we are using, that forces us to split into more and more splits. So that is one problem which we go with the more than the binary classification or binary splitting. So customer idea is highest information gain because entropy for all the children is 0. So that's why this is the problem. When we use the impurity measures, they tend to prefer splits that result in large number of partitions, each being small but pure. So what will happen at the end of the decision tree, we will use those leaf nodes. If that leaf node is reached by many objects, you'll get more confidence. Okay, out of 10 times I observed whenever it comes to this leaf, there is always yes. If only one object comes to that leaf node, whatever decision you make based on that one leaf node, you will not have confidence. That might be random, who knows that you haven't observed enough number of times whether that is following the same pattern or not. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you also need more objects to reach that leaf so that more observations I have observed, right? Then you'll get more confidence. Randomness will go out. If 100 times you observed, 100 times it is the same class, then you have more confidence that than only 2 times, 3 times you observed. There is more chance that 2 times, 3 times is random. So gain ratio is another thing is instead of that subtraction with the parent node Gini and our parent node information minus the child nodes information, you can also take the ratio. Gain split by split information. Then split information, another formula, Ni by N log 2 Ni by N. Okay, this is the same formula, okay, split information. Here, how do you compute split information? The formula is given Ni by N log 2 Ni by N. So parent node P is split into K partitions. Ni is the number of records in child node I. So here we don't need to compute any probabilities here. We are directly taking that Ni, the number. There is nothing but it comes to the probability only. That Ni by N is the child class probability, right? Probability coming to that child. We are not going to class-wise probabilities here. K splits, what is probability? It ends into the leftmost branch and rightmost branch like that. So parent node P is split into K partitions. Ni is the number of records in child node I. This is a different formula than the earlier thing what we have seen. Adjust information gained by the entropy of the partitioning, split information. Higher entropy partitioning, large number of small partitions is penalized. So here they are taking care that by using this formula, higher entropy partitioning will be interesting from the previous formula. But if you use this formula, it will also penalize like your regularization. Large number of small partitions is penalized. You can think this is something similar to your regularization.
Right.
So we are also putting a constraint that don't split into so many splits so that you can make the decision tree pure. The split number is less and it should be still pure. So we are getting a trade-off between them, it seems. So for that, we are using this algorithm gain ratio, that is gain split by split information. The split information is computed like this. The gain split you can compute from any one of those three formulas. Or in fact, we have studied two formulas. One is the entropy, other one is the Gini index. The gain split is the same, P minus M. But don't take the P minus M as the ultimate thing to choose the split. Then gain split by split information also you take. Split information formula is given for which you get gain ratio high. That you take as the split decision. So what it is giving advantage for us is this. Large number of small partitions are penalized. So it will try to see that it's a less number of partitions instead of getting into more and more partitions, so that your tree length will become smaller. And as I told you, the generality means it won't become, what is that?
Overfitting.
Overfitting. So it works very well on training data set, not works very well on test data set. So overfitting, to adjust the overfitting, we use their regularization. We are using here split information. So this is used in C4.5 algorithm, designed to overcome the disadvantage of information gain. So this gain ratio, how do you compute, is given here. Here split information is 1.52. Split information is here 0.72, split information is here 0.97. So split information should be more or less for gain ratio?
Less.
Less. If it is less, then you will get more gain ratio,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So this second one is having a less because it is having only 2 branches. Though the first one has, according to the misclassification error rate, this is good, right, for us. But Gini is less, that's why this 1.52 still makes less this is. And here Gini is more, 0.468. But this 0.7872 makes more gain ratio.
No. We compute, I mean, numerator is gain. Here it is given only Gini. We haven't computed
Okay,
gain.
okay. Gain, okay. So we need to compute that also. Gain split. Okay, split information. That is not given, then you need to compute and see how does it work, right? But here it is only shown that if there are more splits, then your split information will be more. Measure of impurity, classification error. You can also take the classification error. This is what first we discussed today. How do we, if we assign maximum class, then how many we go wrong? That is exactly this error, 1 minus maximum I of PIT. Because you will assign only maximum class as the default class, all remaining things will go wrong. So how much of percentage will go wrong? So what is the maximum here value you will get for error?
1.
1 minus 1 by 3. If all are evenly distributed again.
Yeah.
That is the lowest value you will get, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, maximum will be always greater than 1 by C. So when records are equally distributed among all classes, implying the least interesting situation. Minimum of 0, if maximum become 1, only one class present, then your minimum error will become 0. When all records belong to one class, implying the most interesting situation. So you can compute this, let's say. One I will compute 0, 6. So there is no going off wrong here. Maximum probability is what? 5 by 6 is the maximum probability, right? So 1 minus 5 by 6, that is 1 by 6. Then if you see these measures, the minimum is same for all. Maximum is also same for all, right?
Yes.
Then how are they faring? Entropy is always greater than Gini and misclassification error. Then Gini is between entropy and misclassification error. Misclassification error is always same, always smaller than the entropy and Gini. So this is what the comparison of different measures. So this is up to the user and the where we are applying. Based on that, we need to see that it's which measure we need to take. Of course, we are not going to build algorithms. Already people we have seen that it's C4.5 uses this entropy split. Gini is used in CORT algorithms. So we should know that it's what algorithm is used. Do we get a different result when we use a different algorithm? So their approaches are different. We may tend to get different results. That is what we should know at least. So misclassification error versus Gini index. So what is shown here? Gini improves, but error remains the same. So sometimes your Gini improves, but error is still same. That is what it is said. It's even after splitting, your misclassification rate is same, but your Gini may improve. Misclassification error for all three cases, 0.3 here. That is nothing but it's a misclassification error has not improved, but Gini may improve after splitting. But finally, what is important for us, Gini index or misclassification error when we measure the performance of the decision tree. Which one is important for us?
And we'll see whatever we choose as the splitting methodology, we'll again calculate gain, right? So
Misclassification error is important, right? This Gini, all those things people won't understand also, right?
Right.
Finally, if you predict 100, how many you are going wrong?
Yes.
This Gini index will help us to reduce the tree length, all those things, generalization. And we also have seen to overfit, to arrest the overfit, then we can multiply with split information. But when it comes out, finally we will mention with the misclassification. In that whole confusion matrix, all those things belongs to that only, right? Misclassification, how many we are going wrong. In particular class, how good we are doing, like that. But sometimes you may improve the Gini, but your misclassification rate is same. That is what here it is mentioned. So decision tree based classification advantages: relatively expensive to construct, extremely fast at classifying unknown records. Construction is expensive, but once you construct the decision tree, it is very fast to classify. Why?
just tree traversal depends on the depth of it.
Yeah, tree traverse. In construction, you need to try out many split conditions, all those things, right?
Right.
But when you are testing, you have a tree, just simply traverse that. You don't have it, say whether to traverse this way or that way, all those things won't be there. So always construction is expensive, but using that algorithm to prediction is very fast. Easy to interpret for small size of trees. What does it mean? If you use logarithmic, what is that? Logarithmic regression. Can you explain why you are predicting this is yes, why you are not predicting this is yes? You say algorithm predicts like that, right?
Yes.
But here you have advantage. You can say that it's a, his income is more than this. That is something humanly understandable reason. Whoever has income more than 125K, they won't become defaulter. People can understand this, right? When you say.
Yes.
When they are married, they have income more than 80K, they are more prone to, they're not prone to defaulter. People will understand. So easy to interpret the results. When it becomes very big, then people won't understand, right? If you say 100 conditions, then again the problem will come. It's on what basis you are, right? See, those 100 are important or only few are important, those things. So easy to interpret for small size of trees. If that's why we want to keep the tree size small, so that we can explain for the customers why they are getting such results or such predictions. Robust to noise, especially when methods to avoid overfitting are employed. That split information is, if you employ that to arrest the overfitting, then it is robust to noise. If one or two, it's randomly deviate from the general behavior, still your decision tree catch that. If you don't overfit, then those random also will become leaves, and they may sometimes may cheat you that new instances. That's why robust to noise, provided you employ methods to avoid overfitting. Can easily handle redundant or irrelevant attributes unless the attributes are interacting. If it is irrelevant or redundant attributes, they won't help you in splitting, right?
Right.
So that's why anyway they won't come into your tree. Disadvantages: due to the greedy nature of splitting criteria, interacting attributes that can distinguish between classes together but not individually may be passed over in favor of other attributed that are less discriminating. So you are looking not combination of attributes. Sometimes combination of attribute may give good split. So you are looking each time it's only one attribute you want to take. So if for example, let's say if you want to see that how good they are in data science, if I take combination of computing and statistics, then I'll get a good understanding. In both they need to good. If I split only on base, then it's either I may take the computing, they may not good in statistics. Then again, the next split may not, I'm unable to capture that. So sometimes you may need to see that whether this combination is best or individual things are best. So this greedy is always look one attribute at a time. So it won't take the combinations. That is the disadvantage which here it is talked. Due to the greedy nature of splitting criteria, interacting attributes. Interacting attributes means, as I told you, statistics and computing both are important. Even if they are not good in one, they may not do good. So that interaction is missing here. Because splitting, we will always see that which one is best at that time. That can distinguish between classes together, but not individually. May be passed over in favor of other attributed that are less discriminating. So what happens if you take statistics, then again if there may be of the people with the good computing knowledge and of the people without good computing knowledge. That evenly makes so that statistics is not important for splitting. Similarly, if you take only computing, the people who are good in computing, of the people may be good with the statistics, of the people may not good with statistics. That makes evenly the distribution. Then it becomes your computing is not important at all for splitting. But if you take that, if they are good in both, then they are definitely good for data science. If they are not good in even in one of them, they are not good in it. So that is not captured when you take the greedy approach. Is it clear what I'm saying?
Yes.
So each decision boundary involves only a single attribute here. So all these are the disadvantages from the decision tree. So handling interactions, how do we handle interactions? So these are the next set of algorithms where your logistic regression, neural networks, all those things will also handle the interactions. So 1,000 instances, then 1,000 instances here. With a combination, if both are low, y and x, that is one class, right?
Right.
If you take y only, what is happening here? Both are evenly distributed, both classes. Red and blues are different classes. And if you take only x, then they are both evenly distributed.
Yes.
But if you take combination y and x, if both are low, then and if both are high, they are one class. If both are in medium, one is high, one is medium, then you are getting a different class. This is not captured in decision trees. So decision boundary for tree with the 6 leaf nodes and decision tree with 6 leaf nodes. So you are getting this. Then decision tree with 6 leaf nodes using x and y as attributes. Splits have been numbered from 1 to 5 in order to other occurrences in the tree. So here they are trying to put this into the decision tree. Numbered from 1 to 5 in order of other occurrences in the tree. This is 1. 1 is x2 less than this. So the essence is, it's if you want to use decision tree, then this much you will get. Simply, we formulated 2 conditions, right? If both are high, if both are, if one is less, other one is high, then you are getting this. So you can actually make this information, not this big tree, even smaller tree also you can, but that is not possible because we are using the greedy condition. We are not using the interaction between attributes. Handling interactions given irrelevant attributes here. So adding Z as an IC attribute generated from a uniform distribution. So attribute Z will be chosen for splitting. Then they are asking to introduce one a noise attribute. Then use that noise attribute to splitting purpose. So that we need to study more. How do we introduce this noise? These are all not people will do. Usually it's a, when they know that it's a interactive attributes are good to model, then they will move to the other than the decision tree classifiers. So in other words, it's a decision trees are even for logarithmic regression also, we assumed each column is independent, if you remember. But nonlinear cases will catch that interaction between attributes. When we get into the neural networks or SVMs, they are nonlinear kernels. Here also, if you use decision trees, you are assuming your attributes are independent. So here the explanation is how to introduce that noise. So then they are asking, generate a Gaussian distributions. From the Gaussian distribution, you include some noise, something like that, it's saying. So anyway, so the available packages are having good algorithms, C3, C4, D3 and CORT, C4, C3.5, those things. So you can use one of the classification algorithms. I have provided one data set, apply the same thing and see that how is it performing when compared with your logistic regression, your whatever algorithms you used earlier, neural networks and SVMs. So you can add this decision trees also, one of your machine learning toolbox now. That is what expected from now onwards, because we are adding more classification techniques. So you remember, right? I have provided one data set and also some code. There also I used some decision trees there. Now you need to try all of these things and see that how do you include these decision tree algorithms into your machine learning toolbox.
Yes.
Okay, I'll stop it here. If you have questions, I can take now, or you can also ask tomorrow once you go through the notes or your textbook.
Yes. Go through the textbook first.
Okay. Any other questions from any other?